All right, hi you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Um, Today's video is gonna be just a little bit different. Not jumping off a topic or anything like that. It's just as far as going in and calling my mom. I'm not doing that today, and I haven't did it for a couple of days. And um, here is the reason why. My mom, if you guys don't know, she has schizophrenia. Um, when you try to make contact with someone like that and they're about to have an episode or they're triggering, you want to give them as least amount of stress as possible. So I noticed that, at this moment, I am her trigger at this moment. So just giving her a little bit more space and having other people contact her, having third and fourth party contact with her. While we had this, I got a call from one of the people that I shouldn't even say that because they did do it out the kindness of their hearts. Of how my mom sometimes people with mental illness, not all of them, but people who have like schizophrenia and things like that, they will go and say things that are not true. And you have to back it down, like back it. It's not like they're intentional, lying. Some of them are, but most of them aren't. They're just, their minds are triggering them to hallucinate and put things. If they've seen something on TV that's bad and they remember your name, they're going to put that in the slot. So, yeah. So she called me and told me, what was going on, just keeping updated, and how she was talking about how some of the new people were believing it. And I was just like, like it would be awesome. Like people have no idea what it takes to deal with people who have mental issues, because they don't see the wounds of the person, and their weapons sometimes come out physical, but not always. If someone is abused mentally, chances are if they don't get help, they will abuse others mentally too. And that's why you'll see a lot of people, sometimes they'll have to evaluate them if they have children to make sure that they don't impact the children who don't have a mental illness. If you're around something a lot, it happens like that. So you are what your environment portrays. So I started thinking about my life, and I'm like, people have no idea because they see me, and they shouldn't. Everyone should not know every single part of your life. That is weird. That's not vulnerability. That is dumb. Okay, there are people who actually try to target that, and then you wonder why you come across these manipulative people, because you didn't told everybody everything about your life. But in this instance, I was like, you know what? It would be beneficial if I shared my experience of how I was thrown down the stairs. Okay. And I wanted to explain that because I know a lot of people were like, dang, did her ex throw her down the stairs? She dealt with some abuse there, and that didn't happen. Not with him. Actually, this is what happened. My mom had just relocated when she first got out of prison. She relocated. She relocated with um my. It was with my. It wasn't with my grandmother. She was supposed to go with my grandfather, but my grandfather died the same day that she got out of prison, the exact same day. So she could not live in that place because no one else was living with him in that like big house. So she ended up going and living with my aunt. That's what she did. She lived with my aunt first. Which we thought she was kind of sick. My aunt was sick. She had cancer. She had lung cancer. Then she had breast cancer. No, she had breast cancer first, then lung. So she stayed over there. She started staying over there, and then when my aunt got sick and passed 6 months later, almost, it was about 6 months and 2 weeks to the day of her father passing. She ended up living with my grandmother for a little bit until she ended up getting into it with my uncle, which they're only 2 years apart. And they thought it was best because they wanted to put her in a home then. But I was like a teenager. I had just got back from living on my own and going back to live with my other aunt. So the thing was, they put her over into the family house, which was my grandfather's house in the beginning, the house that she was supposed to be at in the beginning. They put her in that house. So it was me, my aunt, and my younger cousin. She's like in college now. So at that time, she was, how old was she? About, I want to say about 8 years old. So anywho, they ended up moving. They went to Northeast Indiana, a little bit, like about an hour away from where I'm at currently. And they stayed there. They moved there while my other aunt who stayed in the middle of Gary, moved to the Horseman area so she can be in the family house with my mom. So one day, I don't even know what. Well, let me tell you this. This is how I know. Usually, my mother gets to the way she is when she is influenced by someone else from the outside, and they have her to stop taking her medication. Yeah, they are influenced on the outside, and they stop having her take her medication. Um, so she met this one guy. This one guy was talking to her and, giving her good things. And my mom is usually sweet, very, very sweet, and like very, very soft when she's on her medication. The only thing that she usually gets upset about is food and money. Like, just don't mess with her money. I've seen her do some crazy stuff. But anyhow, so this particular time I started noticing that my mom was acting kind of shifty, like she was getting paranoid. She was like looking around, things like that. She started, telling me, I guess they just finished the race. But that's so crazy. It's a whole pandemic, and you over here racing, y'all. It's hundreds of people outside in front of here. We like our city literally just got released from, and they doing whatever. Well, they was doing whatever anyway. So I'm not gonna be surprised when they say the numbers are 12 million thousand right here. I'm just gonna stay my little fanny, me and my dog in the crib. But anywho, so my mom started getting paranoid, and I'm like, what the heck is happening? She would go down to the bus stop because my mom loves to go out and she loves to view the world. She loves to like go out and travel, even if it's to the store back. She needs to get that out. If she does not walk, she goes. She doesn't. She's not like together, and so we noticed that was one of the things that kept her going. If you guys hear the clapping, that's because they're literally right here on the side of my loft. So yeah. So she's like, she goes back. She ended up going to, I'm gonna go and shut the door and then shut the window, and then I'm gonna come back. I'm sorry, you guys. All right, we can hear a little bit better. Let's put this down. Thank you guys so much for being patient. Okay, so hopefully you guys can seem like they tried to get louder. Hopefully you guys can hear me a little bit better. But after that, what happened after that? Oh yeah, so my mom likes to go and exercise. She likes to go and see places. She loves to travel. So my mom, which is rightfully so, she was in prison for like 15 years. Of course, you want to see everything, being free, you know, not having people tell you what time you go to bed, what time you get up, what time you're breathing, what time you're eating, what time you're pooping, what time you're taking a shower. It makes a difference. You just, yeah. So, my mom went on the bus, loves riding the bus. She went to the bus. And the guy that she was talking to met her there. He didn't even have a place to stay. And y'all, so crazy. So he was kind of very manipulative. So he went and she started telling them, you know, she's hearing things and, you know, maybe it's just the voices in her head. He tells her, no, you know, it's the people that's around her and, you know, all this other stuff. So now she's taking it to a totally and completely different level. And I'm like, okay. So she comes back. She starts talking about the story, telling people that she ran across this other guy and he knew my name. And a lot of people in my area know my name because it is you know, how many people you know named Bill? That's, you know, that's living. And that's not a fictional character. Not that many, especially in my neighborhood. Okay. So anyhow, she says that she, you know, this guy mistaken me for her. Wait a minute. Mistaken her for me. I'm sorry. Yeah, mistaken her for me, and told her that, you know, how much do she charge? And like as if I was some kind of like prostitute, y'all. So my family, instead of them, you know, reaffirming to her that that's not the case, y'all, that that's not the case, you know, like, Mom, why would you, like, you know, and I'm sitting here like, no, that's not true, Mom. Like, you know, what's going on? Like, you know, trying to calm her down. They're laughing. They're laughing. So not only is it, you know, provoking her to even do it even more and to say just horrible things, it is making me feel very uncomfortable. Okay. So, you know, this goes on for about 3 days. And I'm like, you know, in the meantime, I was upstairs because was I still flying? I think, yeah, no. I was still flying. But at that time, I don't know how I ended up staying and spending. I was there for like, I want to say a couple of months. I was living there a couple of months, but I was still flying. I know this was the time around, like towards like fall or whatever, because I remember what happened after, and it made me very, very sad and depressed. So I go upstairs. Now, the house was like, it was a 2-story house, but it had an attic on top of the 2 stories, and it had a big, big, huge basement at the bottom. One of those like old Victorian houses. Like the house, my grandfather had bought it for like $1, remodeled it, fixed it up or whatever. So it was like a whole 3-bedroom, like you could have made it a house or apartment upstairs. And then downstairs, it was 2 bedrooms, and then it was the dining room, then the living room, then the round kitchen, like this big, huge kitchen, and it went in a whole circle, then the bathroom. But everything, even though it had doors, they finally took the doors off or whatever, but everything literally went in a circle. So it was 2 doors to each place, except the living room. The living room had 3 open doors because you can come from the restroom, from the bathroom, from the main bathroom, or you can come from the dining room, or you can come from the living room. from the front door. And then they also had like the basement on the side, which is kind of funny because the shelter that I was working at almost the same way. So anywho, as I'm, going upstairs and I'm like, I'm going to my room. I just need to, relieve myself. Like I was getting really, really stressed out. I had gained weight. I was like about 127 and I got to then it went to 140 something, then it went to 160. But how my weight came on, it was like I started getting bigger in my stomach, but I got bigger in my legs. Everything was like all big, It wasn't like I wasn't slender. So I was like, what's going on? I always exercise. Now the train is going, y'all. So I'm starting to run. I was just like, something's going on. So I was like, maybe it's just the stress that I'm under because, I'm dealing with my mom again. Sometimes it gets really, really tough. Dealing with my mom will argue sometimes with me. Like she will, it tussles, all that other stuff. So this one time, after this, the whole, she was doing this for a couple of days. It was like, I want to say a week later, I overhear my mom talking to this guy. And this guy gives my mom this paper bag. The paper bag, he's telling her he has this gun. And if somebody's messing with her, then she needs to shoot someone with the gun. So she's going, and since she's not on her medication now, this is already, I want to say about 2 weeks that she's off her medication. This woman was going ballistic, pacing back and forth in her bedroom. At that time, no one was in the third bedroom upstairs. So as I came back from flying, I had my luggage bag, and I put my luggage bag down. I hear my mom pacing. I hear her talking. I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? And she's like, I know you've been in my room. I'm going to stab you, blah, blah, this. And I'm like, Mom, like, at this point, I'm like, I'm not even thinking about being afraid of her or anything like that. Just like, Mom, calm down, that kind of thing. So she's going overboard. She's getting mad. She talks about how she has this gun. All I saw was the paper bag of the guy saying that he had it. So I went and told my aunt, and I'm like, look, we need to go back to Edgewater. Edgewater is the place for the mental, where they have the mental evaluations, and tell them what's going on. So my aunt's like, no, we can go wait, blah, blah, this, right? So I'm sitting there. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go tell. So that's exactly what I did. I walked myself. At that time when I was right there, I was relocating because I had already got relocated to, where was I at? I wasn't in Arizona because SkyWest was in Salt Lake. So I want to say I was in Portland, based out of Portland. And I ended up, I think it was Portland or Phoenix. But anyhow, I was on the West Coast. So I was trying to relocate to go like live closer to Chicago because that's closer to Gary. So I told them, they're like, oh, it's nothing that they can do. I'm sitting here like, they're like, well, she didn't threaten you, blah, blah, this. And I'm like, okay, but she is, offended. You can't have firearms. You have to go and check that stuff. So they're like, we can't do anything. She might be hallucinating, blah, blah, this. So I go back in. I'm sitting here crying because I'm like, this is how accidents come about, when you don't check things at the door, when you don't nip things in the butt, okay? So I tell my aunt, like, I don't even feel comfortable going to sleep up there. So she tells me, oh, go sleep with the knife. So I'm sitting there, I'm not about to sleep with no knife. Like, no, I'm not. She's like, lock the door and just, So after that, I ended up, it got worse. It did get worse. My mom was talking about killing me. She would go and try to knock on my door. She would leave little nasty notes, just all types of abuse. And I was just like, you know what? I'm so freaking fed up with it. I'm so tired. You need to go get help. I'm going to call the police. And then I'm going to, so when I got there, my mom was, all of a sudden, her sense came together. So I knew that she was still out of it, even though she was having her psychosis moment. And this can hurt sometimes people who do have mental illness, because they think that they're always in their right mind. Once they have some sanity and it goes in and out, that they know it's not always that way. So, but I did know that when she came, when it was with the cops, she straightened up really quick, and she literally tried to turn everything like literally against me. And they're like, well, it's nothing we can do. It's just she's, and I'm like, well, can you check the house? But you can't check the house for anything if they don't have a warrant. So he was like, no, I can't do that. But I'm like, it really is going to endanger me. So after that, they left. And she started to act a plumb fool. She got so upset and she was just in a rage. And when I was going up the stairs, because I'm like, I'm just so done with it. I'm just going to get up and leave. I'm so stressed out. Now, at that time, I didn't know I was pregnant, okay? Did not know, but I just knew I was just stressed out. I had so much weight on me. At that time, I had just got into, the reason why I was over there is because I had got into just a lot of verbal disagreements with the person that I was with, which later you guys hear about what happened, with me with that relationship. And I stayed, I was like, I'm going to go back home. And then after that, I was like, this got to be the worst decision ever, because that was the reason why I left home, because this issue. So as I'm going upstairs, I'm like so tired. I see my mom, she just nudged me, and I'm like, I get so fed up. Like, why would you do that? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, why do you hate me? Like, my mom, sometimes she goes as if she just does not like me. Okay. And she goes in and she gets really, really mad. And she's like trying to intimidate me by mocking me. And I'm just like, get out of my face. And she blocks the stairway. So I'm like, get out of my face, Mom. She goes and she's talking. And I'm like, okay, let me just calm down, because I see this is what she wants. So I turn back down, go back down the stairs, because I'm like, I'm not about to have this. All I can do is walk away, and you can just talk to yourself. So as I'm going down the stairs, here she goes, she's talking mess, and she pushes me. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I get back, and I'm like, I'm going to go upstairs. So my cousins, I'm like so immature. They're sitting there laughing instead of telling her, calm down. They're like, whoa. So I'm like, I'm just going to go upstairs because I need to rest. I really was feeling pain in my back. It was all up in my spine, and I felt horrid. So as I'm going upstairs, she pushes me again, gets to the top of the stairs. Come on, now what you going to do? I'm like, get out my face, because I don't want to hurt you. Like, because I don't want to fight my mom, but if you hit me, it's going to be on, right? And this was the, attitude I had at that point, and I didn't have a lot of education on, mental illness. I just know I lived with people who had mental illness, a lot of them. So when I went and just was like, look, I'm just going up the stairs. So as I'm going up the stairs, she pulls me and pushes me. Now I fell down 14 steps, y'all. And it was like tumbling my back. It was just, I just laid there. So when I got back to the floor, I'm like, got back to the bottom. I got all the way to the bottom, and it was this glass wooden door, because it's a Victorian house. So it was really, really pretty. It was like a little glass door that was like, it was like wooden, but it had like glass on most of it. So I hit it and it cracked the wood, because it was all original wood, y'all. So I got up and I looked and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just done. So she's going, oh yeah. So that's what made her push. I forgot to tell you guys. As she was going off talking about, now what you gonna do? And I was like, move, I'm gonna go up. Her mouthpiece fell out, because my mom has this bridge. So she had this bridge because she fell in a pothole. So the bridge falls out and she's going, and she has no, so I was just laughing then, because when you get angry and you see something that somebody's just trying to do crazy stuff, and she was being so mean and so vile and so brutal, that part made me just have a little bit of relief and laugh. And I just went upstairs, and that's when she slung me. So I forgot about that, man. So I went flying, and I jumped back up because I was like, okay, I see this. She's on something. Like she's on one. She's trying to attack me. So by that time, I got really mad, and I'm like, move. And that's when she moved. When she saw that I was not playing no more games, she moved right on out the way. I slammed the door, and I was like, you know what? I can't take this anymore. I'm leaving. So that was my story time for that for that episode. I said for that episode. For this dialogue. Well, not dialogue, because no one's talking back to me. What am I talking about? Okay, for this recording. So I say that to say this, like, don't think that someone's trying to get over. Everyone's not trying to get over someone who has a mental illness. Sometimes when you see people who are in asylums or they're in places like that, they're just in there. Sometimes they're in there because they have no one, or the people that they're around can't properly take care of them. They don't, not to say that they're abusive or anything, they just don't have the energy or the means to take care of them and themselves, and it's best sometimes to have them in those places than to have them running rampant without supervision, without help. Now, I'm not saying to have someone, it's okay for people to be caged up. Definitely not saying that. But you have to realize the truth of the matter, that they are human. They still deserve good treatment, but these things are dangerous. So if you see someone who, they're not getting any, ask yourself, what did they do? Because everyone doesn't have the same kind of patience as I did, or as other people do. I've heard people who, lost their lives trying to help people who have mental illness. That usually happens. And statistically, this is another thing that people don't get, and sometimes it's the reason why they let their loved ones stay in there, because statistically, if you're dealing with someone who has a mental illness, usually they will try to harm themselves first. Usually, the ones who try to harm others usually harm the people who are closest to them, meaning their family members. If you look at it statistically, most of them do. If they're in there for some kind of issue like murder or something like that, it's usually dealing with the loved one. That's the same thing with my mom. My mom was my brother, my sister, myself. It wasn't intentional either. But just because it's not intentional doesn't mean that it's not it doesn't happen. It has the same still end effect. So you have to take caution with that. There are a lot of people who are older, which one of the ladies thought that, that was going to happen to my grandmother when my grandmother took me in. But I don't know. My mom would really snap out of things when my grandmother was around. So I used to be like, what is the correlation behind that? Is it because some of the things that happened before that's triggering her, reminds her if she said something is stopped, or like these are the things that kind of make me think. But for this situation, I wanted to give that story and to give it space so people can understand and see, because we always making judgments. And when I say we as people, we assume things that are not true. And if you take time, you can't go and peel back everything. But if you take the time to do that, you'll find out, a lot more information. You gather more information, you get more depth into it, and yeah. So that was my story time. Hopefully it also encourages some people to keep going if they need to, or whatever decision you make dealing with your loved ones or even yourself with mental illness. I'm going to get off of here because it's already 30 minutes. Hopefully something I said or done will help you on your journey. Please stay tuned to Journey to Jerusalem, and have a great day.